All right, Ryan. Well, we're just continuing our conversation about awakening, right? And the journey of the soul and the spirit, and the conversation, and to bring it into a focus because of who you are and what you do, and you have such a fascinating life to share. And I want to talk. I want to dive into this broadcasting because broadcasting, and I'm a singer songwriter and getting music out, the music of the soul, and connecting with people. But podcasts, you're a master at this, and I want you to talk about the healing and how we can use these podcasts to save the world, to change the world, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Kris.
Oh,
You know, um, I think the world that we live in faces preposterous challenges.
yes, yes,
We may
yes.
or may not be on the brink of nuclear war,
I know. Yes,
which is terrifying to even say out loud, but
I
it's
know.
true.
Yes.
The only thing that we can do to save ourselves is to talk it out. That's it. That's the only tool we've got, whether that's
Right.
climate change, whether that's the political divisions, whether that's some kind of horrific hot war. All we
Yeah.
have is to talk to each other. So when I'm thinking about podcasting, really, I mean, maybe it's kind of corny, but I really feel like the stakes are really high. That it's really important that we do this before we hit record. Kris, you and I just had a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
means something. It's important to me,
Yeah.
that happens. And so for me, my company Kitcaster books people's podcast guests. So we work for people that want to go on podcasts, and we place them on awesome podcasts like yours. So for me, it's a wonderful blessing, and and a serious responsibility that I feel like our little company has to do this in a good way, to put people out there, to make connections, to facilitate these conversations. And I do think it's a healing entity for our culture.
And that's what you said, is that that's exactly what's happened, is that, right, the pandemic, disconnected everybody, and everybody stopped talking. And because the wrong broadcasting channel is pre-programming everybody. But I bet you, if you took everybody, a lot of people, I'd say 80% maybe, right? You sat down, most people would agree on a lot of the same things. It's just the politicalness and the device and the languageness. It doesn't mean that we have to agree on everything, but basic things, that we want peace on earth, right? We don't want to have violence. That we
Yeah.
could all. And so the channel of having the podcast, and being able to broadcast and say what you want to say and be able to share with people, I think that's like a healing balm, right?
Yeah, and it's a human instinct. The only reason that we've been able to populate this planet with 8 billion of us or whatever the number is because it's innate in us that when you meet face to face, or in this case, Zoom to Zoom, that you naturally want to extend the olive branch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the social media and these other things create these separations from us, much like when you're in traffic. Your tolerance of other people is a lot less because you're both encased in metal. Whereas if you were
Right.
jogging, you would never get that upset if somebody cut you off. You'd be like, oh, what, I cut people off too. But
Right.
because you're encased in metal in your car, or you're encased in the internet social media protection, then, and because online, I think people are experimenting with ideas, so that it feels like there's this great tension. But what podcasting proves, what the population of the planet proves, is that if people have the opportunity to make a connection as opposed to a conflict, they certainly will. And podcasting, more than any other kind of media or any other forms of communication, really prove that. And I think at a particularly important time where all of our attention is at such a premium, you know the attention that I'm getting from you and you're getting from me is much higher in quality than I ever get with my own kids, because they're only half listening to me as they're scrolling through their phone, and I don't blame them. It's like if I get 50% of attention, I feel good about it. But really, we talk to each other, we're
Yeah.
always somewhere else. But
Yeah.
if I've got these headphones on, I'm in front of this microphone and we're recording, for whatever reason, it really draws my attention into this conversation, which again, I think is really good for us. I think it brings out kind of our more noble qualities. Um,
Yeah.
our men.
Exactly. Exactly. And in the affairs of the world, be it as may, when I grew up, there was the Cuban crisis and there was the threat of the nuclear war, and we even had a bomb shelter. I'm like, a lot of good that's going to do, but there was such a fear in that time that that's how, we get under the desk and all that, like that's going to do any good. But that
Duck and
conversation,
cover drills.
right, duck and cover, but that's a different conversation than it is now. It's not the same. And I'm bringing that up as sort of like an awareness, like a wake up call, a good wake up call, because it doesn't have to happen that way. It could happen. It's very likely it's going to happen. Powers that be want it to happen that way. There's a lot of money in those things, in those wars. But whatever happens in the world, there is, like, I see, as the world crumbles, there's a community of like minded people that are raising up, that want peace on earth, that don't want violence, that want to, get along and figure it out and, grow a garden or whatever it is we have to do to get through this change. Because it is a shift, it's a transition, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's something happening. And I know it's not good for me to fully tune into it, actually.
Hmm.
A lot of times, the news or these kind of things seem like some kind of nefarious wizard trying to hypnotize me with their hopeless negativism.
Yeah,
You
hopeless
know, I
negativism. That's
I,
it. That's
I
it.
can't
Don't
keep
watch
up,
the news, right?
Yeah, no, 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 never,
Yeah,
never. I
yeah,
just can't. Like
right,
literally,
right.
it doesn't have any kind of positive outcomes for me.
Yeah,
Um,
it is
and that's
programmed,
because,
right?
well,
Pre-programmed.
they're trained, they're
Yeah,
trained to like hold your attention and to put you in some kind of theta state so that their advertisers can recoup their investments by
exactly.
making sure that I want to get the new F-150, which I
Right.
do. So it works, and I just
Yeah,
can't subject to that low level witchcraft.
right.
So
It's what it is. Yes. It is low level, and that's why I think the podcasting trend is hot, because these are real conversations. These are real people, and you've got like what, 400 people you work with in your business?
oh no, no, no. My company there's 25 of us.
Okay.
So there's 25 at Kidcaster, and then I have another company there's about seven. So we're just itty bitty.
Uh huh.
But as far as like our impact, you might be thinking about the actual podcast interviews. We're booking
That's
400 of the
that's where I saw
yeah,
the
400 of
400.
these interviews a
Okay.
month. Yeah,
400 a
yeah,
month.
400 a month. Yeah,
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
I know. We have probably 120 clients.
Okay.
So, on average, we're putting them on about 3 podcasts per month. So, our
Uh huh.
little butterfly wings are putting quite a ripple into the world,
That's great.
which makes me feel great. It
Yeah.
really does, because the common thread with our clients is these are people that, you know, really care and want to make a positive impact in the world in various different ways. So it feels good to help them.
Right. Right. And so are they're pretty much speakers, authors, trainers, coaches that want to get out there, right?
Largely, we work with funded startup founders,
Whoa.
or
Okay.
entrepreneurs with exits. So not as much coaches. We don't really work with consultants or coaches. Usually, it's people that started technology companies, and are looking to like impact the world at scale. So the kind of interesting thing about these folks is they've taken on incredible amounts of liability and risk. you
Right.
know when you begin your entrepreneurial journey as kind of a funded startup founder, then your first raise is usually friends and family, you know? So if you might go past the hat, raise a $500,000 from friends and family to start your business,
Right.
and it falls apart, and now you owe your friends and family a 500,000. Now you don't owe it to them.
Yeah.
People enter into those business relationships understanding that there's a high probability of failure and there's a lot of risk. But you know, it's pretty awkward at the Thanksgiving table when you owe your family a 500,000 or even $50. So, you know, these are people, big gamblers, but they're betting on themselves. And so that's what is really exciting to work with these kind of folks, is because they know that not that the ticket that got them to the dance isn't the ticket that gets them inside. I messed up that metaphor. The ride that got them to the dance is not the ticket that gets them inside, but they still go to the dance, you know?
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
like people like this. These are brave people and
Yeah.
principled. So it's really exciting to work with them.
And then what do you do? I mean, do you teach them how to monetize the podcast? I mean, they don't need to monetize it maybe if they're, you know, already successful, right?
Yeah, so we're just working on the guest side. So they're going on other people's podcasts. So
Okay.
the podcasters we work with, a lot of times we have opportunities for them, and particularly with Wildcast, which is the platform we're working on, which will be a podcast advertising platform, which is really designed to help podcasters get paid from their show. But you know, oftentimes the guests we're working with, you know, if the podcast is profitable for the host, then there's a certain more, it's more electric, you know,
Right.
because now the quality of the show is a little bit better.
Yeah.
These kind of things. So that definitely benefits everybody. But largely working on the guest side, what they're looking for is to have great conversations, you know.
Yeah.
The outcomes are secondary. You know, if we get to the business, great. If we talk about the recruiting problem I have, great. If we talk about the fundraising round I want to do, great. But really it's
Yeah.
the conversation. Like, I want to talk about artificial intelligence and how it works with cannabis compliance or whatever they want to talk about.
Right.
That's
Right.
really what it's about, you know, which is so exciting to me, because obviously you can see I never shut up. And so it's really nice to find my people and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't
Yeah.
either. Let's go talk, you know?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. Do you find the majority of the people that, like minds attract like minds, that you attract into your community are successful, and then they've come to a point in their life where they want to be significant and give back? Is that kind of the shift that you see a lot of that?
There's differentiation, you know, people, there's value to be kind of a quote unquote thought leader, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so that if you're working on an AI chatbot, there might be 100 of those companies. Well, how are you different?
Oh,
A lot of times the differentiation is going to come down to the founder, and like, what's the intention behind this? You know, what's the story of the founder? Maybe if I need a AI chatbot and I hear somebody on a podcast, the difference is going to be because I relate to them as a person. You know, we're so accustomed to these tech platforms with their flat blue logos that it's
right.
like, it's not tangible to me, you know. It's like a
Yeah.
glowing rectangle, and like, where's the person, you know?
Yeah.
So this gives a lot of like tech founders the opportunity to flesh out their company, so to speak.
Well, that's very cool. I grew up in Silicon Valley and know a lot of folks up there, and but I've seen it change where it was more heart, it was a little more heartful a few decades ago, but it's changed a lot. And such innovation hopefully can be channeled for the good, right? And a
Oh,
lot
absolutely. Well,
it,
it seems like it's a pendulum, you know,
it
so it
is
starts very heartfelt and human, and it swings to be very sterile and robotic, and then you
right.
come back, you
Come
know.
back. Right. We go back and forth till we find our balance, right?
Yeah, hopefully, where it's like a little bit of everything, you know, but hopefully I'm always on the team human side.
Right. That's
Because as
right.
much as I love technology, you know, I really care about people more than apps.
Good. Okay. Right, right. It gets a little bit too AI'd out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it definitely does.
so you have all kinds of awesome things going on, and we could talk forever. But I just want to, be able to share with everybody here what would you like to give them today? What like jewel of wisdom that they could walk away with and meditate on
Hmm.
and think about of importance.
That's an interesting question. I feel maybe intimidated by it a little bit. Something I've been talking about is, and something I've been about with my team is being patient with yourself. Um, One thing I think, working in startups, working with creative people, working with ambitious people, is a lot of the ground that you need to cover takes time, and it's frustrating, especially when you're the bottleneck and you're the problem. So I think be patient,
Right.
and if you're a person who needed to hear that right now, give yourself a little wiggle room. I think all of us are pretty hard on ourselves, and maybe if you're like me, you're a little harder on yourself than you'd be to anybody else. So
That's for sure.
here's my advice: take this opportunity to be a little patient with yourself today.
Oh, that's good. Somebody said that to me just recently, so I think it's one of those God things. Okay, I got the message. It's true. It's true. You can be almost a little more with everybody else, but that's really good for sure. And then just for everybody, Kitcaster, Wildcast products. And so tell everybody how to get connected with you, where to go, what you want to give to everybody today.
You bet. Wildcast kick
Yeah.
podcast. That's all we do. You can reach me there. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
That's great. And you froze, so we're gonna have to edit this part.
Oh shoot!
I
I'm
don't know
sorry.
why, but when you were answering, it just froze. So
Okay.
this will be edited. So we're gonna edit that part out. Okay, go ahead and tell me again.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, I'll start with Wildcast.
Wildcat.
Wildcast is not ready,
Oh, okay. All right.
so
I'll have to wait.
once it's ready, you can check out what it is now at gowildcast.com. I'm really excited. You can sign up on our emailing list there, to check that out.
Okay.
Kitcaster is at kitcaster.com. If you're a funded startup founder, an entrepreneur with exits, C-suite executive, and you like to be booked on popular podcasts, we would love to work with you. Aside from that, you can connect with me personally. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on any other social media platforms, but I'd love to talk to you there. If you have any questions about podcasting, or if you just like to chop it up, I always like to hear people from shows.
There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismeller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind. The power of purpose. Doing well by doing good. The power of purpose. Doing well by doing good. The power to bless lives inside of